Where are the worst neighborhoods in the Phoenix area? Now, this is never a fun video to do because I like to focus on positive things, but you can't have a YouTube channel that you are the expert on and not talk about negative things from time to time, because no city, no area in America or the world is perfect, especially all the time. So that being said, we're gonna dive into the 4 worst or most dangerous neighborhoods in all Phoenix that would probably be noted to stay away from. Again, as a licensed real estate agent, I can't steer people. That's a big no-no or anything of that nature, but I can report the facts. And some of the information I'm going to give you today are going to be facts and even some subjective ratings based upon facts of the grade of a certain area that we're going to discuss. So this is an important video to watch and pay attention to if you're looking for not just the safest places, but conversely, the most dangerous places to, or the worst neighborhoods in all the Phoenix area. So stay tuned, guys. If you don't mind, like us, subscribe, and we're gonna get rocking and rolling right now. So before I get to my top 4 worst neighbor, or is it bottom 4? I think it's the bottom 4, right? That'd be more appropriate. Worst neighborhoods in all Phoenix. I will also include a few other ones at the end of the video outside of the top 4 that I won't go in detail on, but ones that are noted as not being the best when it comes to safety and crime and things of that nature. So without further ado, let's jump in. Number 4 on the list is going to be South Mountain. So where is the South Mountain neighborhood? This is located in South Phoenix. So if you look at the map here, you can see that is south of the airport, south of downtown, and it's up against South Mountain. Now it's on the north side of South Mountain, and South Mountain is actually a beautiful mountain with great views of the entire Phoenix area. And it has one of the largest public parks in the entire country with beautiful hiking trails and biking trails. So South Mountain is beautiful when it comes to the outdoor activities and the scenery of that area. But unfortunately, as you get further and further away on the north side of South Mountain, it gets pretty bad fairly quick. So while we're talking about some positives, let's stay just right there for a moment. If you're on the south side of Baseline Road, which kind of cuts South Mountain area right in half, the south side of Baseline Road is where you want to be if you're going to be in South Mountain. And as you get down towards Dobbins Road up against the mountain of South Mountain, it actually is very nice down there. There are some really nice neighborhoods in the South Mountain area on the south side of South Mountain. However, if you're around Baseline Road or even north of it, it can get a little hairy pretty quick. In fact, here are some of the stats. As you can see by the grade here, South Mountain gets an F for crime, and that's what we're going to focus on. Now, if you look at a few of the other ones, some of the overall aspect of cost of living and commute being A+, housing being A+, these are A+ ratings because they are actually affordable. It's affordable, why? Because a majority of people do not want to live in certain areas of South Mountain, so therefore prices stay low and it becomes affordable. And unfortunately, when you have the lower median of income earners living in a certain area, that usually leads, unfortunately, to more crime and things of that nature. And also on a commute standpoint, they have an A+ because you're just located south of downtown Phoenix. So it's easy to get to, a huge area that provides a lot of jobs and companies in downtown Phoenix. So that's why it gets the A+ grades primarily for this area. But we're gonna focus back on the crime aspect, which unfortunately has a grade of F. All right, in South Mountain, you're gonna have an 81% higher chance than the national average of being a victim of crime. You're gonna have 162% higher chance of being a victim of violent crime, actually, than you would according to the national average living in South Mountain. Overall, out of every 24 people that live in South Mountain, 1 person is going to experience or be a victim of crime. But again, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater because not every area of South Mountain is bad. Like we discussed, the south part of South Mountain, as you get up against the preserve and the mountain that is called South Mountain, it's very nice. Some newer gated communities and newer commercial buildings and things of that nature exist, and so that part is nice. So if you're gonna be in South Mountain, I'd recommend being on the south side of South Mountain. Now, making number 3 on the list is Maryvale. This is the neighborhood, the area that's located really on the west side of Phoenix, really the southwest area of the border of the city of Phoenix. This area is actually very large. Maryvale is huge. Now, there's a high school called Maryvale High School, but there are other high schools that are in the Maryvale area. Maryvale can unofficially stretch from about 75th to maybe even 83rd Avenue on the west side, all the way down towards the I-17 on the east side, I-10 on the south side north. From there. So you do have that huge area that's known unofficially as Maryvale. And again, Maryvale is not the safest place to actually raise a family or to live in. Maryvale, you do have a higher crime rate. You do have lower income, you do have lower price points. Now, one thing about Maryvale is you do have a high rental population. A lot of people rent in the area, blue collar, but there is a lot of crime. Let's dive into some of the stats. As you can see on the card here, Maryvale has an overall livability score of 72 because you have the commute and the cost of living and the housing very similar to the South Mountain area, all A pluses. Why? Because again, you are located in the thick of everything, so to get places, it is not very hard to do. You also have buses that come to the area as well, so you have transportation that is actually fairly good for people living in Maryvale, but again, the housing is very cheap because lower income people typically live in this area. This overall bolsters the livability score of Maryvale, but then we look at the crime, again, this is given a grade of F. So let's jump into some of the crime for Maryvale. Maryvale has a 69% higher than national average rate when it comes to crime. When it comes to violent crime, Maryvale is 148% higher than national average, and you have a 1 in 26 chance of being a victim of crime living in Maryvale. So again, that's not good odds. Now, living on the south side of Maryvale is going to be a little worse. So as you get closer to the I-10, I think a lot of that has to do with trafficking, human trafficking, car thefts, things of that nature. It does get worse. As you look at a crime map and it goes for the north of Maryvale, it gets better. So it again depends where you're gonna be at in Maryvale. There's always worse areas than other areas because it is a large landmass of a neighborhood or an area known as Maryvale in the west side of Phoenix. So that is your breakdown of Maryvale and why it comes in number 3 on our list. Now coming at number 2 is Alhambra. This is a area that does have a high school as well, right in the middle of it, called Alhambra High School, and it is located here in West Phoenix, as you can see on the map right here. So again, you have this west side Phoenix area that again, unofficially is kind of located between about 15th Avenue and 31st Avenue, Missouri Street on the south, up to about Glendale Street on the north. This is Alhambra. And again, this is the area that comes in higher on some of the things that have nothing to do with safety, like housing and commute because of its location. But again, when it comes to crime, unfortunately, it is an F. The Alhambra area has about 134,000 people that live within it. In Alhambra, the crime rate, you have a 167% higher chance than the national average to be a victim of crime. Now here's the bad one. When it comes to violent crime, you have a 322% higher chance of being a victim of violent crime than you do living in the national average in some other city, and a 1 in 17 chance of being a victim of crime live in Alhambra. So it is not a very safe place overall. Now I will say this, a lot of people make comments about Alhambra, and they do say that, you know, when it's 9:30 at night or earlier and it's lighter outside for most of the year, you don't see a lot of bad things happening, but they do notice that a lot of the gang activity, things of that nature, comes out obviously at night after 9:30, 10 o'clock, and when it's dark, and things can get really hairy, so it's not the most safest place around, unfortunately. Okay, now on to number 1. Now this is the number 1 that you don't want to be number 1 of, but somebody has to take this place, and it's going to be the Central City area of Phoenix. Where is this located? Well, if you look at the map, it's located in South Phoenix. It's going to be primarily the area just that encompasses the south area of downtown Phoenix, as well as the area just south of downtown, and it encompasses the airport, Sky Harbor Airport area, and south of it. So in this area, it is not safe to live in this area, generally speaking. Let's look again some of the stats. So livability, Central City gets a 61 because again, commute, cost of living, and housing are all A or A+. Why? For the same reasons. Lower income people, and it's relatively really close when it comes to downtown Phoenix and the airport to get to those things for work if you do have a job in those areas. But again, crime comes in at a big fat F. Now these stats are somewhat disturbing. The Central City area has about 56 to 57,000 people currently living in it, and vacant homes and apartments play a huge role in this because of bad activity happens when you have a property or a building that's not being occupied 100% by someone who's taking care of it and living there. But here are the stats. In Central City, you have a 296% higher than national average when it comes to being a victim of crime. And when it comes to violent crime, you have a 631% higher chance of being a victim of violent crime than you would be if you're living in some other area in the United States based upon the national average. In fact, they say out of all the US cities, there are no other cities that are worse off, that are more dangerous necessarily than the area of Central City in the South Phoenix area. So again, very unsafe. Probably want to stay away from there if you can avoid it at all. In fact, what's really sad is the education piece. They say that 96.6% of all people living in the Central City area do not have a 4-year college degree. So again, it is sad when you have very little education, very little money, very little income. You do have a lot of crime, and all these people are living in the same vicinity of each other in the Central City area of the Phoenix area, then it does become a place that's just not that safe for the people living there or anyone that's passing through. So as much fun as this was not to do a video on the most dangerous places or unsafe places within the Phoenix area, it's one that needs to be done. It needs to be on the channel. It needs to be information people need to be aware of so that they can make informed decisions. So that's why we're bringing it to you today on this video. So thank you for watching this video. I do have a couple honorable mention areas that do make the list as well that I'm going to mention right now. So again, honorable mention, I should probably call it unhonorable mention or dishonorable mention, and here they are. The Sunnyslope area is one, which is located in the north central area of Phoenix. You have the Mirage area, which is located on the northwest area of the Phoenix area. And then you have the West Mesa area, primarily around Dobson and Broadway, that is not the safest areas as well. Again, and it all comes back to lack of education, lack of income and employment for these areas, and those are the areas that typically have, or you see, the highest crime rates that are most unsafe places to live. So again, guys, I appreciate you sticking with me through this video, and if you have any questions about any of these areas or any of the other areas that are great places to live, I would much rather talk about that because that's more fun, more positive. So give me a call, 480-660-5974 or info@cookandassociatesaz.com, or check us out right here, as always, on Instagram at Kelly Cook Homes. We're putting daily content out for your personal education and enjoyment. Don't be shy, don't forget to call me.